Okay, so I'm going to show you guys how to mount and label your color pencil and perspective projects. I have two pieces of black paper here just because I'm going to show you how to do both a vertical and horizontal. I do have examples over there on the counter, so if you're a little confused with what that should look like when you're done, it's over there where the black paper is. So there. You need to have a reliable ruler. I'm going to use the metal one just because it's easier to see on the video. But just remember that if you're using one of these clear acrylic ones, you can see here, is that the measurements do not start at the end of the ruler. Okay, they start where it says 0. Where that's very different on the metal ruler. Metal ruler measurements do start on the end of the ruler. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and start with the horizontal paper first just because I think most of you guys have that. And then I'll show the vertical, but really it's basically the same idea for both pieces. Okay? I'm going to zoom into this just a little bit more. So, maybe a little less. I'll go back. There we go. So I'm going to be using a white color pencil to make my marks just so you guys can see it on the screen. You guys should be using just a regular pencil, okay, because that way you can erase them and get rid of them. I'm not going to be able to get rid of these lines once I put them on there, but again, I'm just doing this for the video. So you need to use a regular pencil. So the very first thing you're going to do is you're going to measure and make a mark just 1 inch from the very top of your paper. Okay, so I'll zoom into this part. So I'm at the top of my paper. I've got my ruler up here at the very top. Right there where it has the number 1, I'm going to put a mark right there. And I'm just going to kind of make like a horizontal kind of dash mark just like that there. Okay? Right at the 1 inch mark. Alright, so you guys can do the same thing. Those of you that are doing this to the vertical paper will be doing the same thing. So you could go ahead and do that to the vertical paper. Okay? Alright, so the next thing you want to do is you want to put your ruler now so that it's horizontal. Okay? And I'm over here on the left side of my paper. I'm just going to measure 1 inch. And now this time when I make a mark, I'm just going to make a nice tall mark like this. Right where it says 1 inch. So it matches up with that mark. Alright? I'm going to keep my ruler where it's at because it's already lined up. But now what I'm going to do, I'm going to measure 1 inch off of the right side. And again, I'm going to make a nice tall mark just like that. So when I move my ruler, you guys can see my marks. So just to review it, I measured 1 inch from the top, made a mark. 1 inch from the left side, made a mark. And 1 inch from the right side, and made a mark. I'm going to do the same thing to the vertical paper, just so you guys can see that. For those of you that have a vertical one, so it needs to be nice and tall. This is a taller paper. And again, I'm going to do the same thing. Mark and measure 1 inch from the top, make a mark. And again, you should be using a regular pencil, not a white color pencil like I am. 1 inch from the left side, and 1 inch from the right side. Okay? I'll go back to the horizontal paper here. I'm going to zoom out. So now, believe it or not, you are actually ready to attach your paper to the black, or I'm sorry, you're ready to attach your black, illustration board to the black paper. Okay? Now, because it's illustration board, okay, because it's illustration board, and I'm just using a piece of paper here, but you guys obviously have the illustration board, we are going to be using the tape. The illustration board does not glue down well at all to the black paper, so we're going to use tape. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to pretend like this is illustration board, I'm just going to flip it to the back, and what you guys are going to do this so you guys can see it. You're just going to take a small piece of masking tape, and you're going to make a roll, so that the sticky part of the tape is on the outside. You just put those seams together to make a roll like that. I kind of like to make mine nice and flat, so I'll smush it. And then you're just going to put it in each one of these corners. So again, you're going to do this for all 4 corners. So again, just a small piece of tape. You want the sticky part on the outside, and you just kind of roll it. Stick those ends together so it seals. I make mine nice and flat so then the board's flat to the black paper. You're going to put this on all 4 edges. I'll do this again. You want the sticky side on the outside. And I always put seam side down. I feel like it, so I put seam side down on against the artwork. It seems to stay together better that way. So again, sticky side out. Overlap the ends, they'll stick together. So you only need 4, 1 on each corner. And then what you guys are going to do, and you might want to stand up for this so you guys can make sure you're lining this up. But I just kind of hover it over those marks. And you could just gently kind of lay it down here. And just check to make sure everything looks even and nice. And then once it does, and if you want to, you can even take your ruler, check your measurements just to make sure that it's right. And then you can kind of smash that tape down. Alright? You will have extra black paper, quite a big border here on the bottom of the paper, and that's where our label will go, and we'll do that next. So I'm going to do this to the vertical black paper in the vertical project. So again, I'm just going to pretend like this is illustration board. I'm going to make rolls of tape. I'm just going to put a roll of tape in each corner. And the secret to making that work, guys, is to make sure that your tape is nice and flat. You don't want it all kind of like balled up or sort of rolled up like a big wad of paper. You want it nice and flat. Alright, so I'm going to flip this over. Okay, so again on the vertical, same thing. You're going to notice you have a lot of extra black paper at the bottom, and that's fine. Alright, so the next thing you guys need to do, or that we're going to do, is we're going to do the label. So, I'm going to give you guys a minute here to get the labels and Sharpie markers. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and show you guys how to fill out the label. You need to have a bottle rubber cement for this part, and then an ultra-fine Sharpie marker, which should be over there located next to all the mounting and labeling supplies, and then of course the label. Okay? So, just like everything else, and I went over this on the watercolor painting, you guys want to make sure that you properly capitalize everything, including your name. Okay? So, even if you like to write your name with all capital letters, I want you to do it the formal way. Okay, so go ahead and write your name down for artist. Capitalize the first letter of your first name and capitalize the first letter of your last name. I'm just going to put Mrs. Gower on this one. You want to use your nicest, neatest handwriting because, again, this is all about presentation. You want this to look as nice and neat as possible because that says that you care about your project. Alright, now media. Again, media always refers to the materials you use for the project. Now, we use watercolor at the very beginning of this, so we are going to list that on there, and then, of course, color pencil. Because these are kind of long, you are at risk of running out of space, so you just want to be careful. You might want to wait to see just how I write this on here. Watercolor is one word. We're not going to have enough room to put watercolor paint, so it's just going to be watercolor. So I'm just going to put watercolor, and then I'm going to use the and symbol, and I'm going to put color pencils. Just like that. Let me zoom into that so maybe kids can see a little bit better. watercolor and color pencils. I'm going to skip title. We'll talk about that later. Okay, and then we have class. Okay, you're in drawing and painting 2. So again, this is one that could be a little long. You want to properly capitalize the name of the class because it is a name. And we're going to use the Roman numeral 2. And then right below that, you guys could put your class period on there. So I'm not going to put a class period on there just because I don't want to confuse anybody in the other class. But whatever class period you are, you're going to put that number there. So if you're period 5, you're going to put P5. If you're period 6, you're going to put P6. Okay? Now title again, title of your artwork is the same as like the title of a book. It needs to be properly capitalized. Okay? The title does need to connect to the piece. Now, do you have to have the word blocks in it? No. Does it have to have anything to do with color? No. So you don't have to worry about adding those words into your title, but it does still need to connect to it. Okay. I'm going to kind of make something up here real quick. You cannot steal it. Called building. I'm going to call mine building blocks. I stole it. All right, so you can't use building blocks now. All right, and remember, I do not accept untitled as a title. Okay, so you do need to put something down. If you want to think on it, you have the rest of the bell to think on it. You can leave it blank for now. But what I want you to do is go ahead and flip over your project. I'm going to zoom this out. I don't know if we can see the whole, yep, oh, yay. Alright, so your label, and I'm not going to put glue on this yet, your label is just going to go right here in the middle, okay, and you want just a little bit of space between your artwork and your label, so don't put your label on top of your illustration board, and don't put it all the way down here at the bottom of your black paper. It needs to be up here, close to the project, with just a little space in between there. I'm going to go ahead and glue this one down. So we're going to be using the rubber cement. You don't need much at all. So wipe off a good bit of that glue off the brush. And you're going to go ahead and add that. Again, doesn't take much. And you're just going to put this right here, kind of in the middle. Little space between the artwork and the label. Alright? And then you would do the same thing for the vertical. You're going to put that label just right here. Underneath the artwork, a little bit of space, and you'll have about an inch below the label left. Okay? So there's that. Now, I'll give you guys a minute or two to get your label glued down. Again, you can leave the title blank until something comes to you. Alright, so once you have your label on, okay, you're ready to deal with your evaluation sheet and just kind of finish this up. One of the things I will say that a lot of people mess up on when it comes to turning this in is their signature. Okay, so I'm going to actually show you how I would do this. Okay, if you look at the presentation section, I'm going to zoom in. Presentation section of this. Okay, it says student signature is created with the same media as the project and is small and quiet. Same media. So what media did we use on this project? Color pencil, so you're going to use color pencil. You never use something different, okay? You always stick to the media that you use. Because if you use something different, it's going to stand out too much, and we don't want to take attention away from your project. It needs to be small and quiet. Quiet means you don't want it to take attention, again, away from your project. So, when you guys are doing this, okay, I keep it small, so if you want the smallest version of your name, you could just use your initials if you want to. But if you want to, you can use just your first name. You can put just your last name if you want to. Some kids like to use like their first initial and write out their last name. Any version of that is fine with me as long as it stays small. I like to use my initials, so all I'm going to do is right here, can't see it. There we go. I'm right here in the bottom right-hand corner. I'm going to move this so you guys can see it. Okay, so I'm right here in the bottom right-hand corner. I'm just going to very lightly put my initials, SG, right there. So, you can't even really see it on the screen, it's so light, but it is. Oh, there you go. You can see it right there. I'm making it really small and make it really light. So I'm using this light blue pencil, and I'm not pressing hard on it because, again, I don't want it to show up dark. I just want it to be nice and quiet. So it's going to be somewhere down there. Okay? Now, at the evaluation sheet, you want to make sure you guys fill out the name, the title of the piece right there. Make sure you properly capitalize it even on your evaluation sheet. Class period right there. Here are all the descriptions of the different categories that are being graded on this project. You're going to grade yourself on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the highest. So you're going to put your score right here where it says student on all of these sections. And then you're going to add up all of those scores, and you're going to put that total right here. And the highest total amount of points you can get is 50, so that's why that's right there. So let's say you gave yourself a 45 out of 50. You're going to take that 45, multiply it by 2. You gave yourself a 90% for that project. I'm going to be filling out all the teacher parts. Okay? So this will be turned in with your project. So you're just, when you're ready to go and turn this in, you're just going to put your finished evaluation sheet right on top of your project, and it's going to go in the turn-in folder, which is over on the counter. So that's pretty much it, guys.